And you found us. We're here. Man, I'm going to learn this software. It's new software on this platform. And every time I think I'm ready to go, and then, forgot something. It's Emil. It's Emil Guillermo. Emil Amok to you. How are you? Welcome to Emil Amok's Takeout, my takes on all things considerable. So many things to consider. What a week. What a week. I mean, a heartfelt week for me. If you've been listening to the show, my mother-in-law died. That was I'll get into that a little later, talk about some personal stuff. But that was on Monday when I did a show at the Marsh. And I'll talk a little about that too today. But, it started out as a crazy week, and then Matt Gaetz got crazy and crazier. Finally dropped out. He's self-dumped, which is I guess the highest form of valor in Trump world, if you can dump on yourself. He took himself, withdrawing, that's what it's called. Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez, he always joins us on Friday. He'll come in and talk about that and some other things. But first, I want to tell you that tomorrow's the Harvard-Yale game. And if you're looking, I got a little sweat. I'm wearing this sweater only because it's warm. But I was reading the Harvard Crimson, and it's a big deal, apparently. That I didn't think it was a big deal, but people are selling their Harvard-Yale tickets, and they're scalping them for like $150. There's like a black market for it. I wrote a piece that appeared in Diverse Issues in Higher Education. And I said, and also I think it's also in the Oakland Post, I said, I was writing about the whole David Brooks thing about Harvard broke America. And I took issue and I said, well, I deserve some blame too, because I was in the same Harvard years as Supreme Court Justice John Roberts, and he was the guy who really essentially spearheaded the dumping of affirmative action in the SCOTUS case last year. So I said, if I had made a better impression on John Roberts when he was an undergrad, maybe he would have seen the value of affirmative action. So I shared some of the blame to take it off Harvard's shoulders. David Brooks, the Atlantic essayist, New York Times writer, wrote the thing, that current issue of Atlantic, saying Harvard broke America. Because what good is meritocracy when your meritocracy gets a reaction from voters like, hey, we don't like your best and brightest. We want to vote for Trump. I mean, the thinking was meritocracy that gets voters to dump the meritocracy and go to Trump. America's broken. It's Harvard's fault. And I said, no, it's not Harvard's fault. So anyway, I end up saying, look, I talk about having gone to Harvard, and I say that I was maybe partly to blame for dumping of affirmative action, which Brooks says is the one tool that, is our best, social mobility tool. But now that's gone away. It's going to make everything harder. And so I blame myself for not having convinced John Roberts as a teenager. Anyway, a long way to get to the point, which is the Harvard Crimson says that people are selling their Harvard-Yale tickets. And the point in my essay is I sold my Harvard-Yale tickets. I scalped them, and I still failed because even though I got like a quadruple the value for them, I wasn't able to end economic inequality in America. Now, was that joke worth it? I don't know. But it's true, and I was kind of surprised. I didn't know it was a thing. The Harvard-Yale game is tomorrow. It's known as The Game. I never went to the game. I confessed in that essay I did. I said I sold my tickets. and some desperate Yaley was willing to buy them. And so in today's Crimson, or what day was that? Yeah, the most recent edition that's online, the dean of the college, Rakesh Khurana, Asian American, declined to directly comment on whether students who sell their Harvard Yale tickets will be referred for disciplinary action, but urged students to do the right thing. He said, do the right thing. Sell them not for $150, sell them for $300. No, he says that the black market is really strong. He says he reminded students that nobody will ever know whether we did the right thing or not, but that ultimately one has to decide for oneself what that is and to live with that. Oh, yeah, and I guess John Roberts is living with that, voting against affirmative action. And oh, well, yeah, the Harvard-Yale game, the so-called, not the big game, it's called the game. The game. So that's tomorrow. It's always cold weather time. It's even cold in California now. All right, before I bring up Professor Dan, I want to talk about what I was really upset with this morning, or last night, actually. I was watching that football game. The football game, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns, and the Steelers were, they were the favorites, but they were upset by the Browns. They were playing in Pittsburgh. It was snowing, and the hero of the game was Cleveland Brown quarterback Jameis Winston. And, everyone was fawning over Jameis Winston. Oh, you're so great. We can't get enough of you. That was Carissa Thompson. You know her. She's a sideline reporter who admitted to lying last year. She gets this cushy gig doing Thursday Night Football. So she's like really fawning over Jameis Winston. And I'm thinking, what's wrong with this pitcher? Jameis Winston, the disgraced former Heisman Trophy winner from Florida State University, who was involved in a sex scandal in 2012 at Florida State when he was accused of rape, but no one, the police, the local town, or the Tallahassee folks, they were dragging their feet in terms of investigating it. Massive investigation by one of the top investigative reporters at the New York Times. And it was embarrassing, but this is rape culture in Florida. Rape culture in Florida, which is what we now know as bro culture, Trump culture. That was in 2012. The upshot of it is that the rape victim, who was part of a big documentary involving, campus, sex abuse, she got a settlement from Jameis Winston, who did not admit to guilt. And then the victim went and sued Florida State, and she got nearly $1 million from Florida State. And that's how we deal with rape in America. Everyone gets paid off. I mean, it just kind of astonished me. And I'm thinking that this was yesterday night. I see this football game. Jameis Winston, 12 years after all that, after his rape episode where he claimed he was innocent, is hailed now as this conquering hero because he won a meaningless game. And I'm thinking, man, there is redemption after rape, and maybe that's what's wrong with America. What is wrong with this pitcher? Jameis Winston is not a pariah. He's paid everyone off. That's the way we deal with rape. And what kind of world do we live in? Right? As the father of 3 daughters, I'm shocked. And I'm thinking maybe Matt Gaetz is watching. Maybe Matt Gaetz is watching and realizes that, he's got a future. He's got a future. And wouldn't you know, he knows he has a future, because even though he self-dumped yesterday, Donald Trump, the president, who was also found liable for sexual assault, tantamount to rape in a civil court, essentially, a rapist, he's president of the United States. And so I know, well, what is the signal that sends? Here's a guy, women, here's a guy who took away your reproductive freedom. And now here's a guy who's also he's liable for rape, sexual assault, the E. Jean Carroll case. And he sets the example for the bro culture, that bro culture trumps rape culture in America. You can pay your way out of it. Jameis Winston did it. Hero last night, the same night or the same day that Matt Gaetz had to self-dump and take himself out of the AG contention to be part of the sex cabinet of Donald Trump, because it also includes Pete Hegseth, who has there's a rape allegation there. The Monterey police report. There's Linda McMahon, who has a rape issue in her file. Everyone has some kind of rape thing in their file. Now, Linda McMahon, it has to do with an employee at WWE. But it's there, and it's all something that can be pushed aside, paid off, made better with a little bit of money because Donald Trump is president. And that's what happens when you have bro culture trumping rape culture in America. Something's wrong. I feel for the women. I mean, rape is, there's nothing good about that. No means no. Interesting, in the Hegseth police report, it mentions that the victim said no many times. Of course, we can't hear from the victim anymore because she signed some kind of non-disclosure agreement, so she can't talk. And it's really directly out of the Trump playbook on how to deal with rape. But that's America. That's America now. Bro culture trumping rape culture. Let's bring up Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez. He's Professor Emeritus, San Francisco State University, College of Ethnic Studies, Asian American Studies, Professor Emeritus. Campus rape is a serious issue, but rape all over the country is serious. Is my ire displaced here, or am I correct in feeling how I feel?
Well, what do you expect me to say? You're wrong?
You could say that.
You're the father of 3 daughters, and I would say, look, Emil, you must go get therapy right now if you were to suggest that there was something okay about this aspect. Yeah, I agree with you. Trump, again, is an accelerant, right? He's an accelerant, but the reality is that the bro cultural project has been growing since the 70s.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got to look at change, and the furthest left swing of the SCOTUS, the Supreme Court pendulum, in my opinion, was Roe, 1973. Beginning in 1973, there was, of course, strong reaction from the right, and that reaction was to the moralistic reaction was combined with the antagonism towards the increasingly militant feminism that was rising at the time.
Yeah.
And so men were already looking at reform in such publications as Playboy magazine, right? It started, they still had the centerfolds and they're, naked, all that stuff, right? but they started being careful about the kind of jokes that they had on the joke page, and the change was abrupt. Okay, they used to have anti-gay jokes and cartoons and stuff galore, but
Mhm.
beginning in 74, 75, right, they started to how can we put it, politically correct themselves.
But
Okay,
that's kind of a good thing, though, right?
yes, but at the same time, people were saying no to that, and they were moving over to the even nastier
Right.
so-called gentlemen's magazines. They were not gentlemen's magazines. They
Right.
were they were semi-pornographic, and then there was always porn. Now,
Right.
I'm going to draw your attention to porn. At the time, we had gone through, since the mid 1960s, liberalization of what constitutes pornography, right?
Right.
And obviously, it was San Francisco versus the rest of the world. We were seen as the most pornographic city, for all kinds of reasons, and a
Right.
lot of them were real simple.
And
Broadway,
yeah, you're talking
topless.
about
Yeah,
Carol
yeah,
Doda.
sure,
Yeah.
topless, and then it went to semi-bottomless, and then it went to bottomless, and then it went to live sex, right? Depiction of live sex, and then
Right.
you got
Right.
Mitchell Brothers. Okay,
And
and
I met all of those people you mentioned. I met the Mitchell brothers,
I
and
don't want to
interviewed them.
understand where you met them.
As a report. I was doing a story, but now
Okay,
the guy who was the PR guy for Carol Doda, I
okay,
did a number of stories. When I got married, he actually gave me a wedding gift.
yeah,
And what was that wedding gift? It
it
was
was
a
a bra.
packet full of pornography.
Okay, cool, cool.
Well, I mean,
I
I laughed,
actually,
but
one of her caretakers before she died, one of her
yeah.
good friends, male friends, who really was very fond of her. I mean, it
Carol
seems to
Doda.
me that, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He was also a bass player, and I actually bought a bass from him,
Uh-huh.
uh, a couple of years back, and we were swapping stories about those days, and of course he had a lot of the intimate details about Carol's private life and stuff, and I think there was supposed to be a book out that was about her life,
There's
and
a
I
documentary out now.
okay. I
It's
think he was working on that because I
yeah,
bought that bass. It feels like about 5 years ago,
yeah,
4 or 5 years. It was pre COVID for sure. But
yeah.
anyway, well, I don't want to go too far afield. Okay, so you're looking at the phenomena. While I was in law school, we were looking at pornography, and at the time, rumors started coming out about snuff films.
Oh yeah, yeah. I heard.
This is
I
depictions of actual murders. Sex, sexual activity,
right.
and then a murder. And we weren't clear on whether or not that was acting, you know, or
Mhm.
whether it was real. And they didn't want it to be clarified because they were selling $1,000 tickets to go to private showings of snuff films. Okay. Now I had they said, why would people be motivated to do this? And I laughed out loud. And as a result, the professor picked on me, right? Because I was the only person that laughed out loud, like that.
It's
Well,
yeah.
stupid question. Why would they be motivated to do? And I said, follow the money. It's a basic rule. And then he goes, well, who do you think is going to? I said, who do you think is going to invest in this and make money off of this right now? And I said, it's the same people that make money off of insider trading. It's going to be accountants and lawyers. And I got booed.
Yeah. Well,
I got booed for that.
that
All right.
that's where we are now.
And well, I left out one group, doctors.
Oh yeah.
They were also
No,
investors. No,
no,
it's
yeah.
not where we are now. It's worse than that. It's worse than that. That was the beginning of what you're seeing as a cultural slide into something beyond decadence
Right.
in
And
American society.
it's worse now because we have the internet.
It's worse now because we have got a variety of different cultural elements
Mhm.
that have one thing in common: over sexualization, right, of women.
Mhm.
Okay. And I'm saying it comes from all kinds of cultural foundations, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And music culture, particularly, you
Oh
know,
yeah. Hey, yeah.
particularly rap, hip hop.
The P Diddy
and
story
rock.
is pretty wild, huh? The P
Hey,
Diddy story. I
well,
mean,
you know, and is he part of the culture? I mean, it's
well,
pretty goddamn obvious.
I'm actually surprised. I thought that when Gates stepped down, that the replacement for Attorney General would be P Diddy. P Diddy. I thought I thought he would. I
That's
thought
not
Trump would
bad.
name.
That's not bad. You ought to work on that as a
Yeah,
concept
I
and
told
work
him
it
once.
into your show. Yeah.
I told it once to an audience, and they laughed. I said, "Well, P Diddy could be AG, Attorney
Yeah.
General,
Yeah.
or he could be Secretary of Baby Oil."
God. Uh,
Well, but I mean, this is the thing. We should be outraged that this is happening to women, that this is happening to our daughters, our mothers, our sisters,
yeah. Well,
and
see, yeah,
yet
you're
we got
you're showing once again you're profoundly idealistic.
naive. I'm naive.
I'm not going to say naive because I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's
I'm
fair.
moral. I'm morally naive.
I think I think you're really idealistic, and a lot of people are very idealistic. That is the problem with the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
They keep bringing nice verbiage and quotations from the literati to a knife fight.
Right.
Okay,
They go
it is
low,
not
we
going to be
go
good.
high.
The
Yeah.
outcome is going to be bloody, and it ain't going to be the bad guy's blood. Okay,
Well,
and
this is the thing.
Democrats do not know how to fight. They are
Well,
not people who are accustomed to seeing and watching bloody street battles. Okay,
but
things
but Dan,
breaking out in bars. They're not accustomed to that. Okay,
yeah, but Dan,
the people who are accustomed to it are the ones who are attacking you. What are you going to do about it?
when they go low, we go high.
Yeah,
That
there
that
you go. And you're going
that
to
was
get
the
cut low and high.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. We the moralists, the high-minded moralists have lost,
Well,
and
yeah, but why have they lost? They have
I
lost because they haven't countered the reality. If you're going to
yeah
counter the reality, you have to say, here's what rape has done. Here are the numbers, right? And people
yeah
keep saying violent crime has gone down. I want to see the rape and assault crime statistics. Okay. I want to look at where they are. I want reports from colleges and universities, which are usually, right,
yeah
quashing that information.
yeah,
They
and
don't even treat it. Sometimes they ignore the complaints.
that was the whole point about Walt Bogdanage's investigative piece in 2012, that
Oh yeah.
Florida State was not taking it seriously. The police were not taking it seriously, and Jameis Winston wasn't taking it seriously enough either, because he knew that he had enough money, and this is before NIL and all that. He had enough money to pay off his accuser, and now she's still out there, a white woman. I believe her name is Erica Kinsman. She is in films out there, talking about the rape situation on campus. Power to her, because that was 2012, and I don't think it's any better now in 2024.
Well, one of the critics of Hespeth,
Hexeth, yeah,
Hexet, yeah, yeah,
whatever the
whatever the
Hegseth,
hell, yeah, Mr.
Heg,
H,
yeah,
Major H. I like that, Major H. But anyway, Hespeth, yeah, okay,
Hegseth, Heg. Think of Seth, your friend Seth.
Hegseth, Hegseth.
Hegseth,
Yeah, I keep
Hegseth.
thinking it's a P. I don't know why.
I know,
Okay,
I know.
anyway, Hegseth. Okay, thank you.
Hegseth.
I got to keep repeating it. I screw up my former students' names a lot too that way. Um, anyway, the point is he had a couple of major critics, and one of them is an experienced leader and no, he's a current congressman, and he said uh, uh, the real issues are that sexual assault in the military is still very high.
Right.
That sexual assault in the military has been quashed. That there aren't enough prosecutions, etc. I've got a niece that decided she was going to follow, a tradition in her family, at least one side of the family, and go into the military. I was happy that she chose to go into the Air Force rather than the Navy, the Marines, or the Army. But I was still concerned about assault, sexual assault, and I spoke to her father about it, who is a retired military man, and he said, well, she could shoot the buttons off your shirt at 30 yards. And I said, yeah, well, that's fine, but is she going to have a pistol in her hand the whole time? Okay, what is she got in terms of martial arts and stuff, right? And and so and then I talked to her about it, and she's a petite thing. I mean, she's major now. I think she's on her way to colonel. But I made it clear that you got to know how to read that stuff and how to avoid it, right? If it's at all possible. And she did tell me that there were a couple of occasions where she was confronted by that and pushed up against a wall. I said, "How'd you get out of it?" She said, "No matter how this turns out, you're going to go down. This is going to be, even if they don't listen to me and all the rest of that stuff, they're going to use you an example. And even though this won't make it to the news, your career is over. You're done. You're not going to advance up the ladder and all that kind of stuff."
That's what she said to the perp.
Yes, to the potential assaulter, and it worked. It
Yeah.
worked. Now I'm not so sure that that's going to work a whole lot of times. There's certain kinds of really aggressive people who
Yeah.
would actually become more excited and more willing to become more violent under those circumstances, because rape is about the assertion of power. It's about control. It's about force dominance,
Right.
right?
Hey, it's
Okay.
not about sex. It's about power.
No. And people got to get over that. Now, bring it all the way up to and through the development of hip hop culture, and now I'm going to be seen by younger folks as, wow, man, this guy is an old fart that, is just stuck in rock and roll. I've never seen, the over sexualization of women as it is now ever before, okay, except in pornography.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. I mean, and not since the latest Carl's Jr. ad is have women been so over sexualized. I mean, look, I know it, and I catch myself too. I'm a normal guy, and I like to talk about sex and joke
the
about.
jury's out on normalcy, so you shouldn't be claiming on that real hard.
I'm
Because
just
the thing that
saying
we're
that.
criticizing, well, see, the joke I'm making is the thing that we're criticizing right now is normal.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I know. I mean, look at the way Beyonce dresses, and and you could say, well, yeah, she's
Well, it's an
dressing the way she
exercise.
wants.
No, it's an aesthetic exercise in minimalism. You got to
Yeah,
understand.
right,
It,
right.
it is.
Well,
It,
well, but
it is.
it's her. If it's her choice, or it's because she's selling records. I mean, she's treading a line.
Sure,
You
she
know.
is. But yeah, at the same time, she knows what sells,
Yeah,
and I mean,
I'm just saying that when you have that world happening alongside the Gates thing, and Gates really kind of slithers out. That's why I think it's essential that that report that where people were testifying to Congress about what Matt Gates did. That report has to come out only because people need to know, so that if they hire him to do anything, or if he does anything in the future, people need to know what kind of guy they're dealing with. Because, like I said, I mentioned Jameis Winston to some guy who watches football, and they say, "Did you see that?" And he said, "What happened in 2012 with Jameis Winston?" Oh, you better Google that. You better see that story and see
right,
how
right.
he was accused, and how he, how he used money to get out of it. And that's the way it happens. And, Donald Trump, Matt Gates, maybe Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth is almost there because he bought the silence of a woman. His
Yeah.
victim.
Well, okay. I want to be a little bit cautionary about that. He paid her money and got an NDA of some sort, but
Yeah.
um, it's not a conviction and it's not charges
No.
weren't filed. So,
Right.
but should we able to see that? And you can see that the public can see that but you got to file for it and you got to get a judge to disclose it, right? Because it's
Right.
only an arrest. It's only an arrest, and there were
No
no
charges.
charges ever
Yeah.
filed against them, right?
Right, right. Well, I mean, like I said, this is the way out. People know the playbook. Just follow the Trump playbook, NDAs, all that thing. You can get out of it. I mean, and frankly, if you're a Trump bro and you see that the president of the entire, all of the United States is Donald Trump president, then you say, well, I'm going to follow the leader. I'm
Well,
following
okay.
the
Now
leader.
let me take it even further. Okay, to what extent have women themselves contributed to this element that we're identifying? I think somewhat overgeneralization of bro culture, but let's just call it, you know, how can I put it? It's a very forceful form of masculinism. Okay,
Mm.
I hated the phrase toxic masculinity because it was being thrown around so frequently and so easily for about the last 20 years that anything masculine was toxic. That's the problem. That's the problem. Okay, has there been enough uh, discussion about what constitutes a positive kind of masculinity? And there hasn't been enough. Okay,
No,
but
I mean, yeah, I don't
very
know what
little.
the
No, no,
what is the
but well,
opposite.
women. How have women contributed to this? And I'll tell you, really easy. If I just Google Asian American women, what's the first thing that comes out?
uh what, mail order brides, or
That's one
sexy,
one area that comes
yeah,
up. Uh,
K-pop stars or something.
Sometimes, yeah, but that's not that bad.
Yeah.
That's not that bad. But what do you get? Is you get photographs of women who may or may not, in very many instances, be on date match,
Oh yeah.
websites. Okay, and how are they dressed?
Yeah.
Okay, and where are they hanging out? Okay, because now club culture is a major element for those who can afford it, right?
Mhm.
And then there's the expensive club culture, right? You got to, if you're a male, you got to look hip. You got to be in the latest clothes. You got to dress up, not down.
You can't
Okay.
drip out. Can't drip out.
Because women have a money detector, and a lot of the women don't want to be with a déclassé dude, right? You have to
Really?
dress well.
They want money too, those women?
Not all of them. A lot of people are just looking for good relationships, but they're still going to make their judgment based on how you present yourself, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of guys don't want to do that. They spend more time playing video games, okay, than other more healthful social activity, okay, and that's really gotten bad. I mean,
Yeah. Well,
people.
who's teaching these guys? Who's teaching these guys to be masculine and chivalrous at the same time?
Well, to
No one. No one.
well, actually, there was a project established by Robert Bly, the same guy who came up with the concept of support group, that became a popular method for women, right, to
Mhm.
get emotional and social political support. Okay, it was through support groups. But within the first few years of support groups becoming a thing, like yoga is now, okay,
Yeah.
I started seeing women acting in a really aggressive anti-male fashion, where if there was conflict within the family, within the marriage, it was all his fault,
Mm.
and they were just starting to dump on men like crazy. On the
Hey,
other
I've
hand,
noticed that. I've noticed that too. And it's considered fair game because hey, look,
hey,
it's a battle out there. It's a battle out there.
that's
Pick your
and
side.
well, it was worse than that because a lot of the men who were paying that price were actually some of the best men who were, in my opinion, great examples of the
Uh,
classical positive male, masculinity. They were
yeah,
really excellent examples. They were caretakers for the kids, right? They were real responsible about the personal culture that they carried themselves with. They were supportive of not only the kids doing sports if they had sons, they were also supportive of the women doing sports if they had daughters. And they were thinking in terms of equality and all the rest of that stuff. And then somehow their wife was coming back with all of this junk, right? And and some of them, the white women, particularly, were also racist.
yeah.
Okay, they would say
So,
things like, "Oh yeah, my kid got where's your kid going?" And I said, "Oh yeah, our older son got admitted to both SI and Lowell, and so it's up to him where he wants to go." And then she came back with, "Oh yeah, our older son was also admitted to Lowell and SH, but I don't want him to go to Lowell." She said. I said, "Well, why?" And she said, "Well, and she's looking at me with these eyes, and,
because
and she's
you don't want to
saying,
hang out with
you know,
Asians.
there's too many, Orientals. There's just too many Chinese." And I said, "Well, actually, all the people that to you may look Chinese ain't all Chinese, but
Yeah,
but she's
yeah,
saying it. And the household that we were in was a Filipina, full-blooded Filipina. Both parents are Filipino, and the
yeah.
husband was half Portuguese and half Chinese from
Okay.
Macau. And so
Yeah.
this is kind of wow. Is this arrogance and stupidity in combination, or what?" And I thought, geez, my heart went out to her
Yeah.
husband. I thought, oh my
Well,
God,
so then how are we going to counter, this toxic masculinity, or what is the best way? Because I'm pretty incensed by the whole Matt Gates thing
yeah,
that people
you got to
aren't
put
up
it
in
out in the
arms.
open. You have to
Yeah,
put it out in the open, just like what you're doing right now. You
yeah,
have to
because
say, look, Matt Gates, and then you got Hexet.
yeah, exactly, yeah,
Hexet. You
yeah,
got him. You got him. And the jokes on late night, really pretty good. I flipped all through the first
yeah,
three, right? The top
yeah,
three, and they all pretty much said the same thing. Well, it's a good thing that Gates stepped down because this makes room for more sexual aggressors, right?
sure.
To get nominated. So let's deal with the next sexual aggressor.
I know, but
aggressor.
that's what
And
that's
you're
why I
right.
said, yeah,
Trump is an example of that, and I hear it currently right now from people my son's age. My younger son is hitting on 40, right?
no,
And
yeah,
that's my younger son. Okay,
yeah,
his older brother's only 5 years older, so this is their age group, right?
right,
Okay, and they're pissed off. They're victims. We're
yeah,
talking across the board. We're talking about all males. I don't care about culture, right?
mhm,
You know what's common among them?
but
Class. Class.
oh, so the richer you are, the wealthier you are, or the more comfortable you are, the less you care. I bet.
The more comfortable they are, the less aggressively reactionary they are.
Ah,
The people who are really aggressive and reactionary and saying we're victims, we're left behind, and
mm,
the women are treating us like crap, right? I mean, look at all this stuff. And I said, well, how do you think the women get into political power? You know how they do it? They join up, they practice, they put time in, they put effort in, and they run for freaking office.
yeah.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Well,
California's lower house, the assembly is like one vote short, one person short of 50-50.
the lower house in California.
Yes, yes,
Oh, 50-50 male female,
yes.
not Republican Democrat,
Oh
because
no,
it's
hell no.
super majority
Hell
Democrat.
no.
But
Hell no. And the reason that women got in is because it's an overwhelming Democratic majority. So
But
it's the,
you know,
obviously it's the Democratic Party that was making more room for women.
but this is the trend that you can gather from, women in education, right? Women dominant in education,
Absolutely.
and it's going to trickle down into these other fields that the activists, the people who are concerned, will put in the work and he'll do the political work. Women. I
There
mean,
it
I
is.
think I mean, and we will look at this day when a woman for the second time lost for president, and we'll say, well, what happened? And because
Yeah, it's
if we
pretty.
look back and say 10 years,
Yeah.
the women are going to be active, and they'll say,
Well,
yeah, the Dobbs
just
decision.
like people were motivated by Hillary's loss,
Yeah.
they're going to be even more motivated by Harris's loss.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think, and that's why I'm just amazed, but I shouldn't be, because if Gates, can go through and even when he leaves, it's seen as a withdrawal. It's not because of the rape. He's withdrawing because he's a distraction. It's not because he's somehow uh, contrite about any of his actions in the past, because as far as he's concerned, it was all consensual. It was all consensual, right?
That's what they all
So
say.
I
That's what they
know,
all
I
say.
know. It's and then his fault was he didn't get an NDA signed, and thank God we have Venmo to
Well,
trace back all those payments.
people are also reflecting on Kavanaugh.
Oh yeah, Cav,
If you're going to
Kavanaugh.
reflect on Kavanaugh, then you damn well better reflect on Thomas on the
Yeah.
Supreme Court.
Oh yeah, everyone has a little sexual peccadillo that one can expose.
No,
Some
man.
kind of act in the past that is, that was not seen as important, and that people were able to look aside, and now suddenly, I don't know. I mean, look, even Joe Biden had a thing, right?
A peccadillo is like a short affair. That's a peccadillo. Okay. When
Well,
when you're playing rent a woman, right? And did you see the graphic of the of the investigation by the ethics committee?
oh yeah, yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
It looked like a freaking spider web, man.
yeah.
It
Well,
was
with all the Venmo
it was
payments,
unreal. Yeah.
yeah.
And I said, well,
Well,
why are there bigger monopoly figures over on this side? Why are the icons bigger over here than over there? And it was turns out it's the amount of money, that
yeah,
was paid to that. And so oh,
like ten
it was
thousand
ridiculous, right?
dollars.
And so now they're saying, okay, well, he paid money for sex. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Well, this is the
How
thing.
many,
This is, well, I mean, we
okay.
need a sense. The outrage is sort of lost somewhat, and that's why we need the report.
But the
And
reason I'm laughing is not that all men pay money for sex. The
right,
reason I'm laughing is because that's one of the major industries, right?
yeah,
Above and below ground in American society.
yeah,
Students start out and I said, well, let's take a look at how this is a profit motive society. It's based on capitalism, etc. But what does capitalism mean? What does that mean? And I said, there's above ground capitalism and there's below ground capitalism. And they go, what do you mean? That's below ground capitalism. And I said, what are the biggest industries in American society, right? And they're thinking, well, probably, real estate, especially commercial real estate. And I said, okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. And I said, what about dope?
yeah. Dope.
What about dope? What do you mean dope? Illegal drugs. And then, how can you say we have an opioid crisis, right? How can you say we have a fentanyl crisis, right? And there's
Yeah,
people dying, right? There's people on the street and homeless and all that, and everybody's dependent, and we have to fight against that with laws and prosecution. How can you say that and not understand that the objective is to make freaking money?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so that's
yeah.
one of the biggest industries in American society. What else? Okay, gambling. What
Gambling.
else?
Oh yeah, gambling. Look,
Prostitution. Right up there.
we,
There's the three right there.
yeah,
Dope, gambling, prostitution. Okay.
yeah,
What has happened in American society? Gambling has gotten legit.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Be-
You know,
it's,
I,
you know.
I heard about, yesterday there was a story about they're going to use robo umpires in spring training for baseball,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the people were questioning, well, why are they doing this? It's because if you have a strike zone that's electronic,
Right.
people can bet on every pitch. Is
Yeah,
it a
where's it
ball?
going?
Is
Yeah,
it a strike? Is it a ball? Is it a strike? They can bet on
no. What?
every
No,
pitch, and it,
how about what kind of pitch?
yeah, oh yeah, what kind of pitch?
You
It's
know,
all
the
about the
curve,
money.
sinker, slider.
Yeah.
Fastball. You could bet on the speed. You can bet
Oh
on
yeah, you can,
location, right?
and, you get it. You get it accurate if it's an
Yeah,
electronic
yeah.
strike zone, and yeah.
In
So
or out, strike or ball. That's like black or red, right? In
yeah,
playing roulette. But
exactly. It's just like roulette. Just like
yeah.
roulette. Yeah. I wasn't even thinking about that, and then some guy said, "Well, you can bet on." God, you can bet, and it's all these, the betting, the
Yeah,
gambling,
yeah.
the
And
prostitution.
and is that part of culture? Is that
Yeah,
part of
it's our
masculine
culture.
culture?
Yeah,
Oh man,
yeah,
I mean, I'm in San Francisco, and you know what's in Daly City right across the line,
yeah.
right?
Hey, so Dan, all
I
right,
go there
so
for the food. I go there for
yeah,
the food.
yes, I know. They have little casinos there, and the casino you can gamble every. You don't have to go to Las Vegas. You don't have to go to. You can
Yeah,
gamble.
well, and
You
they
can go.
don't, and they lose their homes. They lose their
Yeah,
families. Divorce
yeah,
rate. Alcoholism. Drug
yeah. Oh, I
dependency.
know. I know. In my younger days, I was into gambling, but
Me too.
yeah, not not.
I was a regular poker guy.
Yeah, I was. I I hate to say this, but I was a regular horse guy, and
Oh
now
no.
and
Uh,
and now animal rights. Oh, horses. You got to save the horses. The
oh
horse
yeah.
races are evil. But now I can't imagine why I did all that stuff in my younger day. Except that it was exciting. It
It
was
was. It's exciting. It's
yeah,
exciting. If you get enough payoffs, it becomes addictive. It's
yeah.
really
And
simple.
all it takes is one had one big payoff, and I thought, oh, this is great. I'm going to do this all the
This is
time.
cool.
No,
Yeah.
it,
Gee,
it
if
did
I
not
just
have
average one of these, yeah, I can average one of these every 3 weeks and do fine. I mean,
it did
I
not
don't have to
have.
go to work.
Yeah.
I actually know a guy that went to law school a couple years before me, but he went to one of the great public law schools in California, local.
Yeah,
But he was
yeah.
at the track almost every day when it was
Oh
in
yeah.
season. He was at the track
Oh,
all the time.
you
And
think that
people
you?
laughed about it. They said this guy's been at the track more than he's been in class. But he passed the bar and became a well known defense counselor. So
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, that this idea that you are clairvoyant and can select the winner from looking at the hieroglyphics in the racing form, which
yeah,
is sort of like doing legal research. You're saying, oh, this is a hypothesis,
yeah.
but it's a crazy game, and it's it's rigged. It's rigged.
It's
I mean, if the horses aren't well,
yeah,
if the horses aren't well and they're racing, and the only way you can make them well is to put drugs in them, you're
yeah,
playing a
yeah,
game
yeah.
that's rigged. You're
And
playing a game
they're
that's
they're overbred too, man.
well.
They're
That's
overbred like
yes, yes,
crazy. So
and
so
they're
they make them so
frail.
they can go faster, but they're also more brittle, and so they're
Yes,
likely to get hurt and get slaughtered.
yeah. Well, the if you look at the bloodlines, and breeding is not a good thing when they interbreed for speed because
And look what
yeah,
happened with dogs. Look what
yeah.
happened with dogs.
Oh yeah,
A
exactly,
certain
exactly.
breed of dog gets popular, and they overbreed the hell out of them, and they end up having spinal problems and hip
Or
problems when they get older.
how
Uh,
about the cute dogs? They want the scrunchy faces, and by having the scrunchy faces, like a French poodle or a
yeah,
French bulldog,
yeah.
they actually have deformities that impact their breathing, and they're in pain. So breeding inspired or breathing impaired breeds, I think they call them, and
Yeah.
they're terrible. Anyway, so Dan, all right, so I let my outrage about Matt Gates get out, and I hope people uh,
Well, you should
won't let him.
we should maintain the outrage. See, here's the problem. We get pissed off when it happens. That's like how people are uninformed about what's going on internationally,
Yeah,
okay? Until it happens. Okay? So I don't even know if this made the headlines, but Putin right, said, "I'm going to target this missile launching base in Iraq, and no, in Poland,
And
in Poland."
oh yeah, yeah,
And what the hell? The guy actually has the stupidity and arrogance to say that out loud. Okay. That is just a macho show. That is a
yeah,
macho show only for his home base. Okay.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
because if anything were to happen, okay, and anything even got close to that, that would be it. NATO's in. NATO's
yeah.
in, right? And
Well, but
Putin's
this is the
done.
thing we still don't know. How NATO and Trump, how that's going to work out as he gets his
Oh, hey,
people lined up.
if he pulls out, and Russia does anything crazy,
Mm,
it's all going to be on him. If
yeah.
it's
Oh yeah.
plain to say, it's all going to be on him. It's all going to be on Tulsi Gabbard, right? If she became,
No, Tulsa. We aren't even. And she's probably the most egregious after the. I don't know if there's any sex scandal with Tulsi Gabbard, but she has been at least metaphorically in bed with the wrong people. If she wants to be
uh,
intelligence head,
well, but
and
see, if you come out with a sex scandal against a woman, um, you better have really clean and clear evidence because everybody's going
oh
to climb all over
yeah.
you.
Well,
Okay.
I mean yeah, but I mean metaphorically in bed
No,
with
I think there's
yeah,
stuff there.
yeah,
Look, the kind of people who run for office, right? You
mm,
have to have a lot of confidence in yourself. You have to really believe in yourself, right? Okay,
mm,
but a lot of these people are also doing stuff. I don't know that Tulsi Gabbard believes what she says. Is she doing that to get attention? Well, she did a damn good job. She got attention.
yeah,
The rule of Trump is negative attention is good attention.
yeah.
Okay,
Well,
as long
she's
as it's attention, and so she practiced that in spades.
yeah.
Okay,
Well, she knows her Russian talking points. That's for sure.
yeah, yeah.
And
And
so
don't leave out Iran and North Korea
oh
too.
yeah, yeah. I mean, she just yeah, she takes the opposition side and makes you wonder about what kind of director of
Well,
national
she's
intelligence.
more articulate than Green than MTG. So
Oh yeah,
MTG,
oh yeah,
there was a contest there for a while,
yeah,
who could better repeat Putin's statements,
yeah,
and Gabbard was better.
yeah. Well, MTG wants to fight the trans congresswoman in the bathroom. That's
Oh
her
yeah,
level.
sure. Well, so does May.
Yeah, right. That's the level of the fight. I mean, well, listen. Let's get off good Matt Gates. He's not going back in the Congress. That's the latest word. But the Jameis Winston episode last night on Thursday Night Football, the the rapist who paid his way back into fame and glory proves that there is life after rape in America. Donald Trump proves there's life after rape in America, and that's a sad thing because
Well,
it
you
shouldn't be the
know,
case.
Aaron Rodgers proves that you could be a hyper Trumper and get everything wrong socially and politically, and of course he's proven right now because Trump won the election. But they also put confidence in him being able to resurrect the Jets, right? So
Oh
what
yeah.
happened there? You know,
Wait, I when you said Aaron Rodgers, I used to like Aaron Rodgers, but I guess he's been too busy uh, with trying to succeed in football, which he's failing. Then I just haven't heard him much on
he
politics.
thought he was Brady.
Yeah,
He's up there trying to show that Brady's not the only one, right?
but hey, Brady knows. Actually, Brady knows a little restraint, I think, compared to Rodgers, but
Well, yeah, and
a little,
it's kind of
a little.
interesting. Huh? It's kind of interesting because they both came out of here.
Oh yeah, out of the Bay
Rodgers
Area.
came out of Berkeley,
Yeah,
and Brady was even more local than that. He came
yeah,
out of
high school.
Sarah.
High
Yeah,
school in San Mateo. Yeah.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So look, Dan. All right. So we leave Matt Gates. We don't know where he's going to show up. He's going to do something in the private sector, though. Apparently, or he's not going to go back to Congress,
Well,
which
no, he
actually
could,
is.
he could run for Senate in the future.
Oh boy. Okay. But he's not going.
Isn't Rick Scott? Rick Scott is picked for something, right?
No. Well, I don't know. He was. he was going to be a pick. He was said to have been a pick. I don't know if he actually
Yeah.
got something
Well, if
specific.
he gets something, then that opens up that Senate seat.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that Gates was set to go back as a congressman. He resigned from the last Congress,
That's right. And he
but
could.
he
Okay,
won.
that's true.
He can go back because he won his House race. He can go back in the House. I think he said he's not going to go back to Congress. So, but another waste of money because they're going to have to,
Yeah, they
have a
got to
new
do a
race.
special election.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, but they don't care about wasting money.
of course not. And not. I mean,
It's
and
all about maintaining power, and that means putting people in office
yeah.
by
Now,
any means necessary.
or also, but you can make it look like you care about waste by putting Elon Musk in charge of a department that doesn't exist, that doesn't even own a
So the
building.
$44 billion, you know, decimation of Twitter, and the millions of people who are leaving Twitter. I'm not leaving Twitter, but I am adding Blue Sky.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm staying on Twitter only so I can watch what's going on Twitter. But I am
yeah.
not going to post on Twitter any further.
Yeah, I don't post on Twitter really, except, well, I guess I post some of the media stuff, but I don't actively write, and
Well, I'll
I
say
put
things like boogers just to.
yeah. Well, I'm not sure about Blue Sky. I'm not. I don't know if I want to learn. I want to learn Instagram. I'm still behind
Okay,
on
yeah,
Instagram. All right, so hey, here's something that caught my eye, and we talk about immigration fears, and that's sort of the thing that you know
that's another old
everyone.
one. That's
Well,
another
everyone,
something that goes way back, man.
yeah, everyone is concerned about it, but there are legal protections, right? I mean, because Trump just can't do whatever he wants. Uh,
You can try.
there's he can try, but
Yeah,
what
and then
gets
people go to court,
yeah.
and
I mean,
and
that's the thing. It's going to be you think the backlog in courts are massive now. They're going to be even worse because everyone has a right to some kind of immigration hearing, due process, and what get what but so I'm scared about that, but I'm also scared that most Trump is all about the low hanging fruit. He's not going to go really get the criminals because he doesn't know where the immigrants are, but he's going to go into the workplace, like factories and that kind of thing. He's going to go out in the fields. I mean, most of the immigrants are there, and most of those immigrants aren't criminals. They're the good ones. And so, what he's going to do is by going after the criminals in the wrong places, he's going to end up with good people messing up their lives, putting them in the courts, messing up the society's labor chain, uh, raising food prices and products prices throughout, on top of the tariffs that is going to wreak havoc on the economy. And I think in 2 years people will be fed up with Donald Trump, that they'll say, hey, we got to do something in the midterms.
I think that's true. I think what we have, the way I describe it to my wife is, much of that, the electorate are like those little toy cars that you put them on the floor, and when they bump into one wall, they reverse. And it's like the cheaper Roombas,
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
robot vacuum cleaners, right? They bump into stuff and then they change direction, and that's
Uh,
exactly the way the electorate is. They don't know enough, and they don't care to learn. That's
no.
the problem. They don't want
And,
to. They don't want to care to learn how the hell the goddamn system actually works, and
and they're
instead
not.
they want to blame whoever's in the top spot at the time. That's
Yeah,
part of it, but
yeah,
a whole
and
lot of it.
they're not going to get any better with Linda McMahon as head of the Department of Education either.
Yeah. I mean, what? I
Well,
thought
I
you
mean,
were a WWE fan, man. I thought you
yeah,
liked her.
what I'm saying is, therefore the destruction of education, public education. And so if you want a smarter electorate, you're certainly not going to get it if you're going to, you know,
Yeah, there's a
demolish
double.
public
There's a
education.
double threat. Or even a triple threat. Um, uh, the Well, it's a recent phenomenon that ethnic studies is creditable towards graduation, and it's actually required as a ninth grade class in some school districts, right? And it's credible towards graduation. And now there's this thing about inclusion of ethnic specific information, especially in the history, social science textbooks. Okay, and I just found out that there is a company that operates out of not exactly in Salt Lake, but just north of Salt Lake, right in one of the suburbs of Salt Lake, that have put together specific ethnic studies textbooks. So by specific, I mean they're going to have textbook on that caters. They said they're catering to 4 states that have ethnic studies requirements, and obviously one of those is California. And they have Black studies, well, Africana, American studies or African American studies. They got a Latino studies, Latinx studies. And you know what? There's a big controversy over Latinx and Filipinx now. Filipinx not so much, but Latinx, yes. A lot of Latinos say, well, what the hell is that X for?
Latinx.
And they don't want to. There's going to be a collision there too, because they're not supportive of LGBTQ stuff.
Well, do you use Latinx? I mean, I haven't.
I do because it is part of the academy. It's part of the academic culture at this point. It has been for more than a decade, right? I mean, this goes back 15 years or so.
Well, how about Philippinx? You're not for Philippinx?
I make fun of it all the time. I use it, but I use it with a slash.
Yeah,
I do Filipina AO, right?
Yeah,
and slash inks.
that Don Mabalan's the late Don Mabalan used Filipina/O, and
well, yeah, because inks wasn't that popular yet, but it was getting there.
Yeah, I don't know where I stand on Philippinx, or is it Philippinx or Filipinx?
It's Filipinx.
Filipinx.
Yeah.
Well, look,
there's an old Tower of Power song.
Yeah.
What is hip?
Yeah. Tell me.
Yeah, tell me.
If you think
what is hip?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Filipinx. Well, because I saw someone write something on Latinx versus Latino, and I guess you don't say Hispanic. You don't say Hispanic.
Oh no, Hispanic. I always thought was invented by a white thinking person.
Yeah,
an Anglophilic expression.
Yeah. See, this is why I use Filipino, Asian, Hispanic, Aspanic, and I've always been I've used Aspanic since the 90s. I said I'm Aspanic, and I've noticed some people adopting it, which is good. It's good. Yeah. I mean, my first.
Well, you ought to sell it to the Mexican Americans as mass panic.
Mass panic. Mas panic. Mas panic. I like that. But mas panic. I'm more panic than you. I'm more panic than you.
Yeah, Japanese Americans jazz panic. Yeah, that's not bad.
Jazz panic. Jazz panic. But you got to be. You can't be jazz panic. If you were half Japanese, half Hispanic.
Yeah.
Right? But
you don't Filipinos. You don't know any?
Filipinos clearly are Aspanic. So, hey,
there was a former assemblyman that some of my former students supported for his first run at the assembly, and the guy won. Yeah. And so it was real open encouragement to those students to continue doing political work, meaning being political staffers rather than civil service staffers, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, look.
Okay, so where were we? We're leaving the sexism and misogyny and all that.
I was gonna talk about immigration because there was this.
Oh yeah, immigration. Yeah,
there was this case that came down today. A jury convicted 2 men today of charges related to human smuggling.
Oh yeah.
For their roles in an international operation.
They came out,
right.
A mom and her kids.
Right. Indian. When I saw Indian migrants, I thought they're not talking about Native Americans or Native
No, they
First
were
Nations
talking.
people.
Yeah,
They're talking about Indians, and the story is they were trying to cross the Canada-U.S. border during a 2022 blizzard,
as
and they
they were trying
died.
to walk in. They were
Yeah,
supposed to walk in.
and they died, and the people who were behind it was a 29-year-old Indian national known as Dirty Harry. His name was Harsh Kumar Ramanlal Patel, a 29-year-old guy. He was the kingpin. And there was a guy named Steve Shand, 50, an American from Florida. They were part of this illegal operation that brought more people in from India into the U.S. through this route. And it was, they had traffickers, they gave people a few $1,000s, and they had men, women, and children, walking across, entire families. And it led to a father, a mother, and two children who froze to death, when they crossed back in January 2022. I saw a movie about First Nation peoples, crossing. But this is, I never hadn't thought about the Indian nationals doing this, trying to come into it. I know Indian nationals who've come across the border from Canada. Well, not come across the border, but immigrated from Canada to the United States. That's
That was a huge route for
yeah.
Filipinos, and
Oh yeah, to
and
Canada.
particularly educated Filipinos. They would come through Canada first, and that's
Yeah,
one of the reasons that in the '60s and '70s, or even before '65 and the Immigration Reform Act, right? Even before that, there were a lot of Filipinos who came in and to Detroit,
yeah,
and obviously that meant that they were coming in from Canada, and one of the oldest Filipino bookstores where you could get Philippine books was in Detroit.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, get this. I mean, according to the story, there was a guy who said off of this network that was created by these two guys who were convicted today. A guy, Rajinder Singh, 51, testified that he made over $400,000 smuggling over 500 people through the same network, and said most of the people he smuggled came from the Gujarat state
Okay.
in India. He said the migrants would often pay smugglers about 100,000 to get them from India to the U.S., where they would work to pay off their debts at low wage jobs around the country.
Same old
And
story.
yeah, same old story.
You
And
got Southeast Asian story, just like that. Cambodian, Vietnamese, right? You got some Filipinos also doing that. Remember what happened to some of the veteranos that came
oh yeah,
in
now,
90, and remember they were being taken advantage of by a Filipino who was using them for construction work and stuff,
yeah,
right there in Vallejo.
yeah. Well, get the number here. U.S. Border Patrol arrested more than 14,000 Indians on the Canadian border in the year ending September 30th, which amounted to 60% of all arrests along that border, more than
Woo!
10 times the number 2 years ago. So there are more Indians coming in because there's these traffickers. And by 2022, the Pew Research Center estimates more than 725,000 Indians were living illegally in the U.S. behind only Mexicans and El Salvadorans. So there are more illegal Indians, undocumented Indians, let's call them, than there are undocumented Filipinos,
Woohoo!
according to the Pew. I mean, and this is the trend. Indians are more populous in everything. And Filipinos used to be number 2 after the Chinese
That's right.
in the Asian Americans. Now we're Chindipinos, Chinese, Indian, Filipino. Filipinos third,
Yeah.
but that's pretty wild. The number of undocumented, and people don't think about this, but it means that if you are out there in the world and ICE has their orders to go after the undocumented, they're not going to go after, or as in their parlance, the illegals. They want to go after criminals first, but they want results. So they're going to go wherever they can find a brown face.
Yeah. They're I don't think it depends on the regional administration, right? How they carry this out,
Yeah.
but every generation has to make their own mistakes, and they may repeat a lot of the mass raid actions that were
Yeah.
done in the 80s and 90s. You know.
Well, LA became a sanctuary city recently. I mean, they voted. Um, I mean, and sanctuary cities, Trump hates those. But
Yeah, they're at
because,
risk for losing funding, right? They said they're going
yeah,
to deny federal funding to sanctuary cities.
but because they exist, that's going to be a roadblock. ICE isn't going to go there first. So they'll probably go to rural areas like places along the border of Canada, places, and who's going to be
I don't
who's
know.
going to
I wouldn't
be
be so sure that they won't attack sanctuary cities. If Trump is going to be good on his word and he's going to be as vicious
yeah.
as he has stated he wants to be, I would
Mhm.
go ahead and attack the sanctuary cities and force the courts to determine whether or not the local police are bound, by
Yeah.
federal law to be cooperative in identifying and rounding up people who are suspected undocumented.
Yeah, this is my prediction is, and I have the precedent of January 6th, right? Everything is going to be January 6th all over again, but in these other realms, like in immigration. So
Okay.
the world is going to fall apart. January 6th is going on. What did Trump do? He spent 3 hours in the White House watching television to view what he created. And it's sort of like Nero, Rome burns, or Nero watches while Nero fiddles while Rome burns. And so in the immigration realm, he'll sick the ice dogs on folks, watch all this happening around the country, and he'll just like sit back and like admire his work. I mean, you can see that this is going to be replicated, throughout. That this is the United States that we got. We got Donald Trump, who knows January 6th as his model, and he will have this replicated throughout in factories, in the fields, in cities, and this is a way of admiring his his uh, his ultimate value, which is the value of chaos.
Well, you know what? I forgot to double check whether or not it was Trump who said it himself, or if others said it. But they were talking about 1 million per year
Uh,
being their target, right? Uh,
well, there are 11 million total, and he's only got maybe he's a lame duck. He's got 2 years before the midterm,
right.
so I who knows
Yeah,
how much
they're
or
talking
how
about
many.
1 million per year well, obviously that would be a 10-year period, 10-year plus, right? To get
Yeah,
rid of everybody. But
yeah, but he's
um,
not going to have 10 years.
it's not going to happen. Well, obviously that part's not going to happen, but he
Yeah.
had to express it that way to show that there's a way to measure headway. That
Oh yeah.
1 million a year is doable. We can't do it all. We can't get rid of all 11, in 4 years,
Yeah.
but 1 million a year is doable. Even
Measure,
that,
measurable.
from
Yeah.
yeah, even that in practical terms is not doable. So he's
Yeah.
only going to have the only thing that he can do is do tens of thousands that look like, if he does it quickly enough and in quick succession, right?
Yeah.
That look like it's possible to do 1 million.
Yeah.
And
And
people won't be satisfied with that. Now, they're already contracting, right? They
oh yeah,
say the
to build.
government is going to do all of this, but they're
Yeah.
already making contracts with companies to build
Yeah.
bigger detention centers.
Right. Right. And they're gonna, Texas is gonna get some land out there near the river,
That,
to
that sure
ranches.
as hell makes sense, doesn't it?
And you're gonna have mercenary contractors saying, "Oh, we're gonna get some illegals. It's not deer season. Let's go get it's illegal season. Let's go get them." And you're gonna have these mercenaries, patrolling the roads, for Trump, patrolling the border. We're the unofficial border patrol.
Or
So yeah,
Elon could have one of his raffles.
Oh yeah, yeah, $1 million. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just think that this is part of the dystopia that we can expect in a Trump era. Hopefully, it's he's a lame duck and maybe it won't last as long. But even a year of it, 2 years is too much. And man, if he's got January 6th in the back of his head as a kind of model, I could do this, and then I could watch. I could watch my handiwork. I just think that that's frightening. That's frightening. And people of color who look like they. I mean, I've been stopped for a busted taillight. You got to think of it that way. If you've been stopped for a busted taillight, you could be stopped for the full Monty immigration check from ICE
Did
because you
the
look.
did the cop approach you from the left from the driver's side window, or did he approach you from the passenger side window?
I don't recall, but I think it was from the driver's side. Why? What does
Yeah,
that mean?
most of the time they use the driver's side. I tried to teach them to do the passenger side, but
Yeah. Well, it's
from a safety point of view, it's easier to see. Even if you
yeah.
tell
Oh
them to
yeah.
put your hands where I can see them.
Well, this is the talk that you hear African American friends of mine. They say, do you know the talk? It's like always have your hands up. You take your wallet, put it in front of you, so they
Mhm.
know it's not a gun. You know, uh, make sure. I don't know. I mean, it's a scary time for everyone, legal or documented or undocumented,
I
because
have
you.
been stopped, and the cop has approached me, and he had his hand on the gun. He didn't
Yeah.
have it out of his holster, but he had his hand on the gun, and the safety on the holster was unsnapped. I could see it in my side view mirror.
Yeah. Oh, it's. I know. I just hope that there's enough stops like the Matt Gates thing, so that Trump knows he's got to moderate some of his stances on things. But
I don't think he's going
he
to be willing to do that. I'm going to tell you right now. As long as he feels that his base is with him, and
yeah,
his base, we're talking not just people are saying 14%. I don't know where they pull that figure out. Okay, but
mm,
14% of the electorate is his base, hardcore.
yeah,
Nothing he does is going to make them change anything. I think
yeah.
it's bigger than that. I think you're looking at 80%, 85% of the entire anybody that calls themselves a Republican. Okay, and
Right.
I'm
That
and I'm
sounds high.
saying
That
I'm
sounds
yeah.
high. But
Well, what
I've heard as high as 30. But 80% of the Republicans,
80, 85.
80,
I'm not saying that they're hardcore like the 14% that are being cited. I'm
yeah.
saying they're willing to see people forced out of this country.
Oh yeah, yeah,
They,
yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're willing to support, hardcore roundup activities, but on the other hand, they're not willing to support spending the money on increasing the number of courts and the number of judges so that you can make the process more efficient. Right? They're not willing to do that. And
maybe
this
they
is going to now. Are they going to be willing to spend the money on transportation,
look at the whole
sending
thing.
the people back?
The ACLU has sued over the transportation issue, but so far these are old estimates. But the estimate was it costs 11,000 per immigrant. If you're going to deport,
That makes
it
sense.
costs 11,000. That's a
And that's
massive
only
amount.
transportation costs.
No, no, no. That's everything from like
So the processing,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
11,000. That's
Holding them
pricey.
for trial, the trial process. 11 grand sounds low.
That was a figure I saw reported
That's
uh,
cool.
on CNN.
I'm just saying,
But
yeah,
yeah,
I'm just saying
it probably
whoever came up with that, I really question it.
inflation.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, inflation could make that number, that I said, old hat.
Well,
Well,
well, if you're going to bring that up, remember how everybody said, why is milk costing me so much? Why are eggs so expensive and all that stuff? We just went through a whole avian flu episode where just last year, right, they killed
yeah,
over 1 million chickens just in California,
yeah,
and then, but you know where eggs come from, idiot?
yeah,
but that's Biden's fault. That's
yeah.
Harris's
I
fault,
know.
man. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing. We're going to see everything blamed on Biden and all the good things that happened because of what Biden has done and Harris. We will see all that miscredited
Oh, it's
to
worse than
Donald
that. They
Trump.
credit Trump.
Yeah, you're right, right.
They credit Trump. They say
They'll
he's the
credit
guy.
this
It
to
was a
Trump.
better economy. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh man.
yeah.
You
All
know,
right, so
they completely
Dan.
eliminate any discussion of COVID.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
I know. It's getting to the point where really, if you want to see an ally, you got to take out your mask and wear your mask. I
Right
have a
on.
mask here,
Oh, that's
but I
happening now again.
yeah, you got to wear your mask.
Yeah. Well,
It,
Sonoma. I think it's Sonoma. Just passed
uh,
countywide. If you're going
wear
to
your mask.
yeah. If you're going to enter any kind of medical facility, a clinic, an office, got to wear your mask. Okay.
Wear your mask.
What's the Crusader imagery on the front there?
It's not the Reardon Crusader. This is the this is a Harvard Lampoon mask.
Oh yeah, yeah, I can see it.
There's
Yeah,
a jester.
yeah. They
It's the
should
only
have had
mask I have.
he should
I
have had
would
a bigger lampoon. See,
yeah
that's the
I
problem. That the lance is too small.
the lance is too.
They have the Harvard icon is an undersized lance, which
Yeah.
is a joke in and of itself.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't ordinarily. I know for some reason it's right here on my next to my lamp here, and I don't have any masks around. Anyway, Dan, this is the last show before Thanksgiving, and I have a theory. I have a theory
Okay.
that if we took Philippine history seriously, we would be having a different meal on Thanksgiving Day.
Okay.
Because who came first, the Pilgrims or the Filipinos?
Okay.
The
Yeah.
Filipinos.
Yeah.
See, most
1587.
people don't know that. Most people don't know that.
1587. It's earlier.
Most people don't know. In fact, anyone listening, I would say use this as a bar bet. Go to the bar. And say, who came first, the Filipinos or the
Yeah, you
Pilgrims?
better, but you better have proof ready, right, on your phone. If
Yeah,
you're
on
gonna
your
make
phone.
that bar bet, you better have it. You better have
You
it
can
there.
Google it. You can Google it. Say Morro Bay, 1587. The Filipinos were first to North America, and only because no one takes Filipino American history, that's why you're eating dried turkey for Thanksgiving. And you deserve better. You deserve better.
actually, Filipino men who eventually many of them became chefs.
Yes, yes.
Leading restaurants and all the rest of that stuff. Even here in San Francisco,
Yeah. My
some of
father
the
was a
great.
cook.
Yeah,
You're talking. My
yeah,
father was a cook. My father was a cook.
yeah.
Union cook, local
Um,
too. I mean,
and
so yeah.
my point is they made turkey not dry.
Oh yeah, yeah. He was good. He
They
was a
knew
good.
they kept it basted. They built a little foil tent, right, so that it would retain its moisture, and
Oh
so
yeah.
the white meat, you know, we all still. How about you? I have my preference is for the dark meat.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my dad, he never would bring home any turkey stuff because like a breast or something like that. He would always bring the turkey tail, the
Oh, the
kimot,
turkey butt,
the kimot,
turkey
the kimot,
butts, man.
and so it's like I don't. We had
The
turkey
turkey butt
kimot
is
all the
really
time.
tasty. It's really tasty, but you gotta get over the imagery.
Yeah, but so we had turkey kimot all the time
Okay.
because that's what they gave away because they cut that thing off. They said, "Dad, bring home the head sometimes." Oh no, we thought
No, the head. That's
the
an
head.
ugly.
But the head,
You would eat something out there, and
yeah,
they're ugly as hell.
the head. No, it's a head. So
Oh
anyway, we
god.
never have the head, but we had the turkey kimot because it has a little it's like a
Yeah,
little
the
poke
juicy
hat.
butt part, the fat. Yeah, the fatty part.
Yeah, it was good. It's good with rice. Good with rice. Yeah, I
Excellent.
mean, forget the leg.
Excellent.
A lot of people like the leg, the turkey leg,
Yeah.
turkey kimot, turkey kimot.
No, the turkey butt was really great. See, everybody discovered though that this stuff is good to eat, right? Like
Yeah,
when I was a
yeah,
kid, man, African Americans be lining up at the store getting intestines and stuff to be able to make chitlins, right?
yeah, yeah. What?
And all the cheap cuts, including oxtail. Oxtail was a cheap cut,
Yeah.
Now
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
freaking
Now,
delicacy.
now the oxtail is like $20 a pound or
Yeah,
something.
it's a delicacy all of a sudden. I said, what the hell?
Okay.
There can't be that many Filipinos making kare,
Yeah. Now, mind you, I say this from my non-vegan meat side, from my ethnic side, but I don't eat that now. But back then, my father would bring home the turkey butt and bring
Okay.
home all that, and
It's
not the
still a
turkey leg.
delicacy.
We would shun the turkey leg. Well, what is this?
Wow.
There's too much meat on this. Too much meat on this. Huh, what do you want us to eat this? Why? Why you brought home something with meat? Didn't the white people want this? Let them eat this. I will eat the turkey kimut.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But,
I didn't
but
even like the sandwiches they used to make because the white meat sandwich was too dry, man.
good dry, and then the counter to the dry white meat, mayonnaise,
Yeah,
mayonnaise. mayonnaise.
mayo,
That's too
mayo.
white.
The
Too
least they
white for
could
me.
have done was spread the jelly sauce on there
Yeah.
instead of mayo. But they did counter it with mayo. Yeah.
Too white. Too white. Oh,
Oh man, mayo,
and
and then they used the iceberg lettuce, which I also hate.
oh,
You
but
know?
the worst thing, if they use best foods mayo, not so bad. But the
Yeah.
Miracle Whip,
Oh
oh
no,
man,
that's nasty. That stuff is
Mir-
nasty. I never
I mean,
understood people liking that stuff. Just
I
that
mean,
was that was downright offensive.
yeah, Miracle Whip. I mean, maybe for the
Miracle.
sadomasochists, they
What
like
is
the
that
Miracle Whip,
stuff? It's really
but not
bad.
me. So look, so Dan, really, who came first? Filipinos or the Pilgrims?
Yeah, yeah.
Filipinos. So if we honored Filipino American history, we would be eating something totally different on Thanksgiving.
Well, we actually do. Our whole family thing is very
Roast
different.
pig, roast pig, roast pig.
We have some roast pig. It's not there's part of the family that's very Ilocano, and they not only lechon is like every day. I
Yeah.
mean
Oh
you
yeah.
can get
Let's
that
on everything.
anytime. Kambing is a
Oh,
little bit,
kambing.
yeah, yeah. Kambing,
Kambing.
caldereta, goat
Goat.
is
Yeah.
different.
Kambing.
So we do a lot of seafood. We're heavy on seafood, and we do a little bit of goat.
Yeah.
So we do we
That's
do
the thing.
crab, lobster, baked fish.
No, back, the real Filipino Thanksgiving though, you got to have a little bit. Like you have lechon, like maybe you chop it up and you serve it,
Right,
but to have the actual pig on the table,
right,
that's
right.
you don't usually have that. Maybe a birthday
If
party,
the
but
family's big enough, yeah. If the family's big enough, yeah. But there's a place in Daly City, right, that
yeah.
specializes in lechon, and you got to order way in advance if you're
Oh
gonna
yeah.
get, you know.
Well, but I'm telling you, you get that baby pig out there on Thanksgiving. Looking at you.
No, yes,
No, I
yeah,
look. I don't. I'm vegan, so but I have non-vegan stories, and I just think that a real. But see, white people they would love it if Thanksgiving, because the Philippines were first in 1587. They'd love a baby pig, a little baby pig. On instead of that turkey, turkey. Would you rather have a baby pig or
well,
a
the
turkey?
indigenous peoples, uh, version of a pig would have been, in 1587 at the time of the landing,
Mhm.
would have been a boar, a wild
Boar.
boar.
Oh
And
yeah, wild boar.
there were boar all over the place in
Wild
that
boar.
area. Yeah,
Right.
they're indigenous to the area.
Well, like I said, we'd be eating something totally different if we only believed and respected Filipino American history. The first Asian Americans or first
Well,
Asians
see,
brought the flag.
unfortunately, culturally, right, our habit of honoring the ancestors by keeping a record of our presence hither and thither and
Yeah,
sending it back to the Philippines, it
yeah.
got wiped out by the Spanish. So
Of course, they didn't want to know that the Filipinos were there
Yeah.
first before
Well,
the Pilgrims.
ironically though, the way that you can prove we were there, if you wanted written documentation, is via the Chinese, because the
Oh,
Chinese maintain a record,
yeah.
and the Chinese were on the same ships as the Filipinos, right? And in fact, a lot of Chinese were pretending to be Filipinos so they could escape the galleons, and and the Filipinos were pretending to be Chinese.
Well, you know. Oh, who's that brown
Well,
guy? That
and the
the guy.
and that historic behavior, right, was
Yeah.
again imitated by the entertainment staff at the Mitchell Brothers.
Really, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because you
I,
had women who were of different ethnicities claiming to be another ethnicity.
no one
So you
ever
had
said
like a
that to
Pinay
me.
claiming to be Linda Wong, right? And
No one.
Chinese.
Well, yeah, I guess maybe. But no one ever said that to. I did not go to the Mitchell Brothers as a consumer, only as a reporter.
Okay.
And no one ever said that to me. Like, oh, I'm Linda Wong, but my real name is Linda Kayang Bayang.
You just made up a last name, but anyway,
No, it's
yeah.
my name is Linda Barong Tagalog. So
Yeah,
anyway, hey,
more than likely it would have been. I don't know. I better not do it. It's too
no, no,
great.
no, no, don't do.
I'll
Hey,
get in trouble.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You get it. Hey, so Dan, you didn't come to my show at the Marsh.
I didn't. I didn't.
That's all right. That's
Uh,
all right. You are
we had a
forgiven.
sleep thing. No, no.
No,
Um,
that's totally understandable. I hope.
so what happened? No, no, no. We've
No,
been
it's
having.
fine. We had a
I'm
handful.
missing all kinds of stuff. I'm
Yeah,
missing stuff tomorrow. I mean, did you
yeah.
know that tomorrow is the annual scholarship thing that the Lopez's TFC,
Oh yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
Filipino channel, yeah, and they're having it at the Academy of Sciences, which is pretty upscale.
Really?
Yep.
They didn't ask me
The
to be
only
part.
reason the only reason I know is that they were sending invitations out to student organizations,
Ah,
and I got notice as a former advisor to student organizations.
oh, that's cool. That's
So
cool. Well,
I passed the information on to the student organizations, but
oh, that's cool.
I can't attend.
They're going to be have a big to do a big wear your barong Tagalog.
I think that's what yeah, pretty much a formal occasion.
Wow,
Academy of Sciences. Um,
and
uh,
come eat
that's
our
pretty
roast pig.
upscale. So somebody that's a member of the Academy of Sciences, right? Obviously,
Yeah,
it's got some pull. So they got to
yeah,
be a donor, and they also have to be a donor member. Um, and I wanted to go just for that purpose, to find
yeah.
out which students are being honored and receiving scholarships and all that.
Well, that's good. That we met at a scholarship thing
Yeah, we did.
a long
Yeah,
time ago when we were
yeah,
younger.
that's right. That's right. That's right. When both of us had very dark hair,
Yeah, yeah. Mine was much darker than it is
and I
now.
and
It
I was
was.
about, I would say I was about 50 pounds lighter.
54 pounds. I got a picture. It looked more like 60, but that's all right. You look good. You look cute. You look cute. You look cute now. You look cute now. Oh, in San Quentin, you
Yeah,
would be
it was
very, very
cool.
popular in San Quentin.
Well, what cracked me up is, of course, my mother was more excited that she was going to get to meet you than ever. Why are you being awarded anything? What have you done that is worth anything?
That's,
But
that's funny.
Emil Guillermo, really, really, the television, reporter. Yeah, yeah,
That's funny. Well, look, yeah, that was when we first met during
yep,
those
yep.
days.
And that was a good group of people. The people who were doing it was called the Top 10 Filipino Awards.
Was it? Oh, I
Annual
didn't know
thing.
that. I it was very nice to be included. It was nice to meet you. And Well,
and
it's
nobody
just
knew that it was the beginning of a
the
hellish
end.
relationship.
Yeah.
Where all kinds of people would be challenged right where they stood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it was an interesting time, and look at how far we've advanced. I mean, it's almost like we've come far, and then we swing back. And
that's right.
and new
Yep.
people were new group um, with even shorter memories than we had.
I loved your. How long did you do that thing at KBRG?
Not KBRG at KEST.
Oh, Kest. Okay, KEST.
Yeah, I did it for a couple. I did it for a year before I went
That's
to
what I thought. I thought it was
NPR.
about a year.
Yeah,
But
it
yeah,
was. It was.
you had me in over there, and you did all of the engineering yourself. You
Yeah.
had your carts all ready. I mean, it was clear that you had experience,
Yeah. Yeah.
doing that work, and it was really fun watching you do it. And some of
Well,
the interviews were I still have my greatest interview was the one with the Cajun coon ass
oh,
Filipino.
the
Right?
Cajun. Yeah. Well, I went to Louisiana because I knew that the Filipinos were there, and yeah, they were there. I mean, how do Filipinos end up in Louisiana from
Yeah,
the
and you did
galleon
a
trade?
I think you did a report there, didn't you? And
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did,
I,
you did some interviews, and
yeah.
the fun part was that you had these people proudly claiming their Filipino ancestry, and they look white as hell. And
Now
it's,
they yeah, a little bit. But this is
well,
part
I
of
was
the
thinking about the two elderly women who actually had photos of their ancestry, right? That
yeah,
brings them back into the 19th century, and
yeah,
and and that was really cool, and
yeah.
they were very expressive about their Filipino-ness, and how they lived their culture and all this stuff, and they look white as hell to me, man. But I mean, so if you go to Hawaii, right,
Yeah.
you're going to see the same thing. You see all these people that are proud to claim their Filipino-ness, and we had a tour guide that was we a small bus, small private tour,
Mm.
and we started talking about food because we're ending the near end of the tour, and we're going to talk about where we're going to go eat, right? And
Mm.
he said, "Oh yeah, well my favorites are," and he starts talking about not only dinuguan, but he's talking about arroz caldo.
Oh
And
yeah,
I
yeah,
said, "Yeah, but it's a hot day, dude. You want to have a little." And then he starts talking about gulai, right? And the language,
Gugula, yeah,
and the language that he used was a combination of Tagalog and Ilocano, right? And I
yeah,
said, the word you're using, dinadaraan, is Ilocano for dinuguan. It's the same dish, but it's the word for blood in Ilocano is dara, and so in not dugo in Tagalog. And so I said, you know a whole lot of stuff about Ilocano. And he turns around and he looks at us, and there's still several people else that are in the bus. And
yeah,
he says, "Oh, I'm a quarter Ilocano." And the guy looks stone Hawaiian, right? He
yeah,
looked like
yeah.
local Hawaiian.
Well, Ilocanos are all over Hawaii. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean that's
Absolutely.
the thing.
You
I
can
mean,
tell because they roll their R's. They roll their R's like
oh,
there's no tomorrow.
I cannot roll my R,
You
but
have to roll the hell out of your R's. Na
so
rigat, till.
I know mine's end up sounding Jewish.
Oh no, that's not only Jewish.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, that's also certain Arabic.
oh, is it? Is it? I, I
Yeah,
I cannot roll. I try to roll, and then it becomes like a
yeah, it's like you're gonna spit, right?
yeah,
You
something
gotta
like that. It's a hawk.
clear some phlegm. Yeah.
So Dan, I guess we talked about Thanksgiving. We're gonna have a vegan roast, but it's sad around my house because my mother-in-law died.
Oh no, I
But
forgot.
yeah,
We gotta send a card to Kath.
no, no, no. It's all right. It's tough, but she lived a good long life. She was 91,
Oh, that's
but
pretty cool. Yeah, that's right. I remember that
she
now.
she had a fall, and we're
Oh, that
still yeah. You got to watch out for your balance. So, but we'll be okay. we'll be okay.
Yeah, but it's usually not the fall that kills them; it's the failed recovery.
Oh yeah, it's
You know,
everything else.
they get infections or they get pneumonia. You know,
Yeah.
which is
So
turns into an infection.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm just gonna, we're
she.
gonna
Yeah.
remember.
Well, were there people around to be able to say goodbye and all that? I mean, because
Oh
that's
yeah, but she was kind of already kind of far gone. But yeah, there were brothers, sisters. I mean, people were around,
yeah. I
and
recall from one of our age-old conversations from a couple
yeah,
of years back, Kathy talking about her mom's condition, and yeah, I remember.
no, but
Anyway,
she was good. She was good, and like I said, I actually when I performed on Monday, it was maybe an hour after she had passed, and so that was an extreme form of the show must go on. But it was hard because I incorporated her in the story, and she was a good grandma. She was born during, or she lived during the Depression, and
of course,
she she lived her life accordingly. I mean, she knew how to stretch every single, you know, she
sure,
stretched the penny. She
sure,
was she wasn't she was thrifty,
right.
which is a value that sometimes, in excessive America we forget. We forget about that value of thrift. But she could stretch it. She could stretch a penny. She was great in that sense. She valued the good things in life, and she valued being with people. And so uh, so we'll miss her, Miss
But
Grandma.
why don't you state her name in full?
Or her name was Nancy Fraser. Nancy Fraser, and she was in. She was from like that group that came over from Europe and found their way into that Kentucky, Ohio area, and they did not. It was a hard scrabble life, but they worked hard, moved themselves up into the middle class, and it was she did not have an easy life during the Depression, but she did well. Her family did well, and it's. I know when I came into the family, it was kind of a shock, but 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 she was a good person, and you know.
Did your kids get a chance to form
Oh
a
yeah, no, they knew
with
grandma
her?
very. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And when she was great. She'd come here, and we would one of our great trips. We took two great trips together as a family. Went to Hawaii. That was fun.
All right. All right.
And then we went to one trip to we would go back and forth. We went to Yosemite once, and that was a lot of fun to see Grandma at the Awani at the buffet there. That was fun. And then and then we would take multiple trips out to like the Kentucky, Ohio, the Midwest, which would you know great memories of me driving a Ford F-350 with the kids in the back and Grandma in the front, just driving our Ford F-350, and you know, yeah,
Yeah,
it was.
that's a heavy duty truck, man.
I know. There I was. What am I doing in an F-350? Give me a 150. No, the 150s are big now too, but the 350.
150s was the general workhorse, but
Yeah,
it's a half ton. The
yeah,
350 is a 3/4 ton. That sucker's a bear, man.
yeah. Oh, it was fun driving through Kentucky and Ohio, and parts of around there. So anyway, a lot of great memories with Grandma. So anyway, so Dan, you have a good Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you again.
I hope so. I hope so.
We'll talk next year.
We've had other friends also suffer losses.
Yeah.
One of my close colleagues lost her mom unexpectedly.
Mm.
right around the same time that Kathy lost her mom.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
it's hard, but yeah, I go to this guru guy I have, and he says, life is like energy; it never dies. The body falls off, gets older, perishes, but energy never dies. And if you understand that, and you understand that energy, spirit is always there with you, it's a coping mechanism. Is it true? Well, you can feel energy, and energy doesn't die, but it does work as a coping mechanism to understand.
there is actually an area of Christian philosophy that most people trained as Catholics aren't necessarily exposed to, but it is in agreement basically with the aspect of spiritualism that you just described, which
Yeah,
is that the spirit exists and the body may die, but the spirit itself continues in an extending line throughout the cosmos, and and people think, wow, man, that's Catholic. And I said, well, it's an area of Catholic or Christian philosophy that was discussed by a number of different philosophers, and it may not be a part of church doctrine, but
yeah.
it's definitely a part of its discussion. Yeah,
Well,
and
if you
because they wanted to deal with the aspect of reincarnation.
yeah, I mean, if you look at the meditative, there's a meditative form of Catholicism, and there's the monks, who make the ales and the fruit cakes. There's all these the monks who are basically Catholic, and they believe in this, but it's not part of the broader, wider, norms of Catholicism. In fact, at one point, meditation was seen as uh, kind of a sinful thing, a sinful practice
Mm.
for a long time, because it just seemed antithetical to
Well, you're
Catholic
supposed to
belief.
just pray. You're
Yeah,
supposed to
but
just pray, and you're supposed to pray only to members of the Trinity, right? God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. That's it. You're not
yeah,
supposed to pray to the Virgin Mary. And I
yeah,
said, well, everybody's got it wrong then.
yeah. Well,
There's whole nations, right, that they
yeah,
pray to the saints, and they pray specifically to the Blessed Virgin
Virgin.
Mary, right?
Yeah, and if you look at prayer, if you look at chanting, if you look at prayer, if you consider mantra, I mean, what
Yeah,
is what is that? That's prayer when you
it is.
consider. And
It is.
so I think the church has been somewhat more liberal when it comes to meditation now, especially with mindfulness. But it has been a helpful coping mechanism when considering life and the passing of life. And so anyway, we give thanks this
Well,
week.
her spirit goes on,
Yeah,
and we what we do is we retain as much as we can of the positive elements
yeah,
of what they brought to this plane,
yeah,
as we refer to this life.
yeah. I mean, yeah.
That's
So
I'm glad you were able to have some time with her in real terms. My father used to always say, "You really don't know anybody until you live with them."
yeah.
And even if you don't live with them, if you travel with them, you
Oh
can
yeah.
learn a lot about what kind of a person they are.
Oh yeah,
And
we
he's
she
absolutely right.
traveled. She traveled with we once spent a long time in a small hotel room in in Honolulu, and it was small, but it was really it was
Did you have all three kids then, or
oh yeah, we had everyone. We had the whole crew. This was uh it was a great time, and we had a cousin. Our cousin came in, and but it was a great time. One of our great little family trips. But you know, yeah, the energy lives on. Grandma lives on.
right on?
So, Dan. So
Yes, sir.
thank you for being part of this. Have a great Thanksgiving. I'll see you
I feel
next.
that we redeemed ourselves from bro culture. So
Oh yeah. Well, bro culture.
this was much more uplifting, and yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Thanksgiving is a crazy thing. On the one hand, I don't feel like celebrating it because it really meant the beginning of the corruption, right, of things indigenous
Yeah. Right.
yeah, and all that. And so we had the coincidence of Indigenous Peoples Day and Thanksgiving overlapping until somebody said, "No, man, they should be separate occasions," which
Yeah.
which is really smart, right?
Right.
So
So now Indigenous Peoples Day happens during Columbus Day. You know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
But
think
wait,
that
but
was the
this,
substitution. Yeah,
yeah, but this is why November is Native American Heritage Month. I mean, how
yeah,
many people realize that? I mean,
yeah.
and I have to say this: I started reading more of Joy Harjo's poetry, and I learned more about American and Native American history reading her poetry than I, you know, did in any history class that I took in high school.
Right
You
on.
know, I mean, the Indian Replacement Act, 1830. I mean, I don't think I ever read that in any U.S. history class in high school.
Yeah.
And
Um,
why didn't we learn more about Andrew Jackson? I mean, we just
well,
was
actually, we did.
you did.
Yeah, we did, and yeah, the Trail of Tears and
Yeah,
all that.
yeah.
But
I mean, I don't think I got. I was in an AP history class in high school. I don't think we got the frontier theory and stuff like that, but we didn't get we
yeah,
didn't get real.
Destiny, everything. We got all of that too. But we
Yeah,
did get Andrew Jackson.
yeah. I mean that's what Trump wants to be,
Oh yeah, sure,
modern day Andrew Jackson.
sure. He wants to put his face, forevermore on paper money.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe. Who's on the $2 bill? Hamilton,
yeah. I can't remember.
Monroe. I used to have a $2 bill. Maybe he'll set a $3 bill.
Yeah,
He'll set
actually, it would make sense, man, because
Yeah.
dollars are, you know, they're useless, right?
Yeah. So they
Yeah.
say, yeah, we need a three. Put Trump on a three.
Put Trump on the three. Yeah,
Yeah.
we might as well. I mean, the lower denomination. Yeah, one, two, three, four, and five. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Yeah. Two
Why not?
threes. Two, three. All right. So Dan, have a safe and sane
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, and
Yeah,
we'll see you again. And thank
and
you.
have a very Filipino Thanksgiving, a vegan
Oh yeah.
Filipino Thanksgiving.
Remember, Filipinos were first before the Pilgrims.
Yeah,
Before the
yeah. I'll tell
before the
you
Pilgrims.
what is very Filipino and easy to do is you can get vegan pastries and stuff.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Phil, yeah.
you can get yeah,
Mamon, you got vegan mamon.
yeah,
Yeah, vegan, vegan cassava,
yeah.
vegan
Cassava. Linda
Biko.
makes great cassava cake. Yeah,
Yeah, I love that stuff. Biko. My aunt
Pico.
used to make
Right,
Biko.
we're right there. We're right
Yeah,
there.
and
All can be all can be done. Oh
my
yeah,
my mom was a
yeah,
conchita guy. Conchita
yeah.
girl.
Bico, puto, uh,
Puto. Oh, the white
puto,
puto. Oh, the white puto.
puto.
What's the brown puto?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Rex
we had the.
Navarrete got a classic joke, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He says, "Yeah, you got to be careful with your Mexican friends, man. You know, you want some puto?
No, I don't want
It's so
some.
common.
I want
Who you
puto.
calling puto, man? MF. All right, man.
There you go. Daniel Phil Gonzalez, my friend, College of Ethnic Studies, San Francisco State University, Professor Emeritus. We talk on Fridays, generally, most of the time. Hey, thank you for joining us for this conversation. I'll put it on Patreon, patreon.com, patreon.com/Emil Amok. I'll put most of it on YouTube, but get it on Patreon. And Patreon, come join us. Here's the thing. You can communicate with us on Patreon if you join. And I'll put this up there, communicate, email, whatever on Patreon, patreon.com. You can join for free or you can subscribe. So that's where you get this. YouTube, I don't know. Sometimes I see something, sometimes I don't. You can also go to substack.com/at Emil Amok, EMILAMOK. Also, YouTube, like I said, YouTube at Emil Amok 1. And I know I keep saying it, but at the end of some shows, I usually do laughter yoga. I'll do it. I'll put it on YouTube, or I'll put it on Patreon. Intentional laughter, it works. I believe in it. I forgot to mention that to Dan. Intentional laughter, it really works. And so we always like to close the show with a little intentional meditation, loving kindness, which is to say the definition of mindfulness, loving kindness is it's the thing that keeps you from punching that guy in the face, keeps you from yelling at that guy for his inadequacy, his transgression. You're mindful. It's a kind of maturity. Try to practice it. It helps. It's called loving kindness. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Till next time. Remember those turkey kimmots. Have a great Thanksgiving. Oh, I'll be back. I'll be back on Monday. Dan, it's Dan I'm not going to see you again. Till next time.